In this video, we're going to take some time to understand how dates work in Excel and to get to know a few of the more common date functions. The first thing we need to understand about dates in Excel is that they are just in fact numbers formatted to look like dates. Let's have a look at an example. I'm going to click into D2 and I'm going to type the number 1 and press enter. And well, I get the number 1. But what I would like you to notice is in the number formatting section, the format is set to general. That basically means no format has been applied. If I click the drop down and change that to short date, it changes to the 1st of January 1900. Interesting. If I now type the number 2, now remembering that this is now formatted to be a date, and press enter, I get the 2nd of January 1900. So you get the idea. Dates are just the number of days since the 1st of January 1900. This has two very large implications. The first is we now understand why our dates sometimes come up as numbers and our numbers sometimes come up as dates, and to fix the problem is very easy. All we need to do is come back to our number format and switch it back to the format you actually want. More importantly, however, it means we can perform arithmetic operations with dates, and this is where it gets much more interesting. So I'm just going to delete these, and we're going to click into B2. Now, very often, before we can perform any calculations with dates, we need to know what the current date is. So if I were to work out how old somebody was, or how overdue an invoice was, I have to have a reference point. But obviously that reference point is going to change tomorrow. So I need some way of Excel automatically working out what the date is. And there are two functions that can help us with this. I'm going to ask you please click on the formulas toolbar. And the first group is our function library. Now this is great because it has a list of all the Excel functions. So if you have forgotten what they're called or you want to see what else is available, you can always come back here and have a look. If we have a look at the text functions, for example, you can see all the text functions we worked with last week, as well as a few additional ones you might want to investigate. This week, we're looking at date functions. I'm going to come to date and time, and again, you'll see quite a rich selection available for us. Now, the two functions that will help us work out today's date are the now function. If I hover over, there you'll see it returns the current date and time, formatted as date and time. So that will give us the date and time. If you just want the date, then you're better off using the today function. And that's the one we're going to click on. So let's click on today. And a little message box appears telling us that this is volatile. There are a few Excel functions that are volatile. All it means is that when there is a change in the workbook, this function will recalculate. If you have millions of this function, that could cause performance overhead. But as we never need more than one day function in a workbook, it's not a problem at all. So you can just press enter or click OK, and there's today's date. Obviously, if you're working alongside me, you won't have got the exact same date as mine. You would have got whatever the date is where you are right now. So just to recap, the now function returns the date and time. The today function returns today's date. And when I open up this workbook tomorrow, it will actually have tomorrow's date. Last week, we also had a look at functions for separating text. However, we can't use those same functions for separating out our dates. So if I want to just extract the day or just the year, the left and the right functions are not going to help me because actually this is just a number. Excel provided us with 3 date functions specifically for separating our dates. And if we come back to our date and time functions, we'll see we have day, month, and year, and these basically perform a similar function to the left, right, and mid functions. But they extract the day, the month, or the year as a number. Let's see how these work. So I'm going to come into L5 and I'm going to type equals DAY and tab. Now the argument it needs is a date. It says serial number, which is a little confusing, but we now know that dates are in fact numbers. So we're going to click on invoice date and press enter, and you can see what's returned, the second. And if I double click, copy that down, I can now see the day on which I was invoiced. Now very similar, and I'll just do them in their cells to the right to demonstrate, you have your month function. This will return the month number. So I'm expecting a 3 here. I'm just going to press tab, and you can see that as my month number and the year work very much the same way. So equals year, click on my invoice date, press enter, and there's my 2020. So 3 functions which allow us to separate our dates: day, month, and year. In the next video, we're going to look at how we perform the reverse of this operation, and given a day, month, and a year, create a valid date.